This is Quincy from AI Probably, and today you are going to learn how to ace any technical interview, even if it's your first one. So, when you consider a career in the tech industry, it is really important for you to know that a technical interview is often very different from any other traditional job interviews. But even though interviewing for a tech job is intimidating, it is a lot easier when you know what to expect and are well prepared. That's why we wanted to create an epic, comprehensive guide to tech interviews and coding interview preparation for y'all. We'll start by covering what a technical interview entails. Then we get into what you can expect during a tech interview in each stage of the process, as well as what you can do to stand out. Then we wrap up with some tips on preparing for the interview and some things that you should avoid. So, the first things first, what is a technical interview? Now, unlike other types of interviews, technical interviews involve challenges and assignments. They are more like an exam than a typical question and answer interview. Now, like the phrase, show, don't tell, you have to prove that you have the skills required to do the job rather than just tell the interviewer you have them. Contrary to the popular belief, the purpose of a technical interview is not to trick you with riddles or brain teasers. Instead, it is to see how do you tackle the real world problems like the ones you might be facing once you have the job. So, what happens in a technical interview? Every company is different, but let's take a look at the average situations you might face. The first is the technical round. The goal is not to see if the candidate knows a specific piece of knowledge, but if they understand how systems interact. Interviewers will look for your ability to think creatively, your communication skills, and your analytical thinking skills. Second is the coding round. Here, some companies will give you a real-time monitored challenge to see how you code. Other companies, usually startups, may simply require you to complete an assignment within a specific period of time. Interviewers will look for your coding skills and your problem-solving ability. Now, the last one comes the shortlisting round. Here, the interviewer will be looking for what your thought process is when solving problems and how will you fit into the company's culture. A programming interview is a daunting task, and there's a lot you need to prepare for. That's why we are here with a comprehensive guide for your preparation. Let's get started. You need to review the job description and research about the company, understand its requirements, and give your answers accordingly. Basically, mention the company's values and principles in your interview answers. Next, find out what their long-term ambitions are. Who do they work with? Are they a direct-to-consumer or a business-to-business company? This will prepare you for the end of the interview when you have to showcase your interest in the company by asking questions. You can find out more information about the company on platforms such as LinkedIn or Glassdoor. These sites often feature reviews of larger companies' cultures and their hiring processes. Next comes a very important one. You need to prepare a 30-second to a 1-minute elevator pitch for the tell me about yourself question. Like founders pitching about their company, you should have a very short elevator pitch that features your job history, past projects, and anything else that might be relevant. Please make sure it is relevant to the company's requirement and domain. This pitch should always be around 1 minute long and tell the interviewer the main things they need to know about you. By preparing an elevator pitch, you will be effectively answer the dreaded tell me about yourself question, which often feels unnatural to answer. Think about your main accomplishments and figure out how will you articulate them in a short and concise manner. Next, come to the interview with 2 to 3 relevant projects to talk about. During the interview, you might have to talk about a project you have worked on in the past. You should make sure that before you start the interview, you have a specific project in mind that you can talk about in depth. These projects should be relevant to the position you are applying for, demonstrate your hard and soft skills in action. You should be able to give an overview of the architecture and discuss the difficult challenges that you have faced. You need to master data structures and algorithms. Most of the technical positions of data scientist, web developer, Android developers require a good knowledge of DSA. Make sure you are familiar with the basics so that if any of these questions come up, you are able to answer them. Here are a few common concepts you should be familiar with. These are arrays, trees, heaps, graphs, sorting and searching algorithms, and hash tables. Now, when DSA comes into picture, we always ask why DSA. Everyone has this question at one point of time, and as a software engineer, I am going to be developing some tools and applications for someone which needs the knowledge of latest technology and frameworks. So, why should I be focusing on DSA? Why do product-based companies place so much emphasis on data structures and algorithms? Let's look at the answer. Your knowledge of DSA demonstrates your problem-solving and analytical skills. To build or design a successful software, you need to have a knowledge of algorithms and data structures so that your software is efficient both in terms of space and time. Frameworks get outdated and upgraded from time to time. Moreover, product-based companies use their own frameworks. So, there is no point in judging that. It is the algorithms that remain fixed. Last, different software domains need different knowledge about the domain itself and the frameworks used, but knowledge of DS and algorithms is the same everywhere. Moving on to a few more interview preparation steps. Pick one programming language and know it really well. It shows your efficiency and specialization over a language command. Next, focus on logic and not syntax. Logics are universal and are applicable to all the languages. They show your logical knowledge with fewer complications as compared to syntax, which highly varies. Next, practice with the help of coding challenges. This will help you have time efficiency in coding under pressure in a real-time scenario. You need to learn to ask clarifying questions. By doing this, you might get hints from the interviewer. Plus, you want to make sure you fully understand the question before diving in. When you are presented with a problem, think it through. Make sure you fully understand what you are being asked to return. Also, make sure to ask procedural questions to understand what the interviewers are looking for and what are your constraints. Don't make assumptions. Even if you're pretty sure it's safe, mention out loud what is it that you are thinking so that interviewers can let you know if you're missing on something. The last preparation step calls for mock coding interviews. There is no better way to practice for a tech interview than to do a mock interview with real questions. Mock interviews allow you to simulate the interview environment, that is, being asked questions, being bound by an hour or so time limit, etc. They also prepare you mentally for what you can expect. Doing a dry run may also make you feel more confident about going into the interview room. Communication of your thoughts should be very precise. You also need to practice how well you enunciate your logic. Next, knowing what not to do can be just as important as knowing what to do. So let's quickly cover a few common technical interview mistakes. The first, not preparing or practicing enough. Seriously, there is no such thing as too much coding interview preparation. Spend as much time as possible preparing for your interview. Preparing adequately can easily set you ahead of everyone else. Next, jumping into code without taking a moment to think and pen down the solution. You might be eager to start solving the problem, but take a few minutes to question your assumptions and make a game plan first. Starting too quickly gets a lot of people into trouble when they could have taken a moment to prevent the confusion. Pause for a moment to think about the problem-solving process. Others that you can avoid are not being able to communicate your solution properly, not asking questions, giving too much detail about the question asked, and no enthusiasm. You need to avoid all of these when answering your interview questions. Now, a common question asked by all of the candidates is it okay to not know an answer? Trust me, it's okay and normal. But what if you don't know an answer? What's the best way to respond to it? What we encourage is to take a moment to process and make sure that you understand the problem correctly and all of the details. Then use the whiteboard to write down the solution and come up with examples of input and output. This will help you to figure out how to go about solving the problem. Look at the input and walk through how to get the output. Once you have the approach, even if it's not very fast, think about what are the slowest pieces and how will you optimize them. If your approach actually fails, then think carefully to define why is it not correct. Now, what if you get stuck during the interview? Don't worry, we have solutions for you. Take a moment to think, catch your breath, clear your head, and remember you are awesome and you can do this. You might even find a lead for an answer. Walk through a simple example. Just try to solve a simplified version of the solution and pay attention to what you personally do when you are trying to solve the question. Next, present a partial solution. If you don't have the full solution all sketched out in your head, that's okay. Tell your interviewer that, but also let them know what you are thinking. Does this question remind you of another question you have encountered? Does it feel like you need to use a certain data structure to solve it? Let them know what you're thinking. And the last one, be honest. If you can tell the question being asked is testing you an area where you are unfamiliar with, tell your interviewer that. Let them know you are willing to try, but you just haven't learned the necessary skills for it. Interviewers are humans too. They've been where you are and they can be pretty nice and understanding. Let's move on to the next section, types of technical interview questions. Here we have 4 types. We'll see one by one. The first being behavioral technical interview questions. These questions are intended to learn more about who you are and how will you fit with the culture of the company. Next, situational interview questions. They present you with a hypothetical situation and ask you how will you resolve the problem. With these questions, the interviewer wants to know if you have anticipated certain workplace challenges that may arise. You can always use the STAR technique to answer these questions. Let's see what the STAR technique is. STAR. S stands for situation. You describe the situation in one of your past experiences. This can be in regards to a specific event or a situation with enough details for the interviewer to know the backstory. Examples can include previous job or internships, volunteer experiences, etc. T stands for task. This asks the question of what goal you were working towards the situation. Examples: how was I going to do some XYZ job? How was I going to accomplish this goal of XYZ? Next, A stands for action. This describes the actionable steps you took to address the situation and follow the question. You should go into a good amount of details, but always focus on what specific steps you took and what your impact was by taking these actions. Examples: what I did helped my team by XYZ. I improved the process by XYZ. The last, R stands for results. What was the outcome of what happened after your actions took place? Be confident and talk about the impact you made as well as any metrics that occurred due to your actions. These will exemplify your accomplishments and show how the situation ended on a positive note. Examples: what resulted from this was XYZ. The impact I was able to make was XYZ. Next, you could be asked questions about your education. When an interviewer asks questions about your education, they want to know about the specific technical training and education you have. and how it has prepared you for the position you are applying to. When answering these questions, make sure you mention any special certifications, coursework, and training you have received, and any academic accomplishments relevant to the position you are applying for. Next, questions about technical knowledge and experience. When answering these questions, it is important to know how your ability to communicate technical concepts in an easy to understand manner and describe your work process. The specific technical questions you can expect to be asked will vary based on the technical needs of the role. Next section that we have is meaningful questions to ask the interviewer. Interviews are a two-way street. You should be learning about them just as much as they are learning about you. Asking thoughtful questions is a good way to stand out in the interview. When a candidate keeps the flow going in a friendly conversation, instead of making it feel like an interrogation, the interviewer will remember your brief time together fondly. Of course, you should tailor your questions to the specific situation, but here are a few questions to ask. You can pause the video and take a note of all these questions. With these technical interview tips, you are equipped to begin your own technical interview preparation journey. The next step is taking advantage of all the amazing resources out there that teach you how to ace a technical interview. So, head on to these websites for your coding practice problems. We have LeetCode, CodeChef, HackerRank, CodeWars, TopCoder, and CodeForces. Practice on these platforms to improve your problem solving and coding skills. Next, here are some of the books to read. We have shortlisted 3 books which are amazing. Do not worry guys, all of the necessary resources and their links are provided in the description below. Other than these, you can also enroll in this course on DSA, Data Structures and Algorithms with Python by AI Probably. This course takes you from the very basics of data structures and algorithms to an advanced level in just few weeks. Also, the course is going to be live soon. This comprehensive course is all you need to become a master of DSA. Here are the features of this course. Again, we are going live with this course very soon. Get an early 20% discount on enrolling in this course. We have limited seats available. Acclimate yourself to live interviews by connecting with your peers. Above all, keep seeking out knowledge, improving your trade, and honing those coding interview skills with practice. Getting your dream job means getting through the interview. But if you go in prepared, the technical interview will be a piece of cake. If you found this information to be helpful, be sure to let us know by liking and subscribing. Hit the notification bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.